Welcome to Roof It Up. This is a podcast about innovators, entrepreneurs, business leaders, and their stories about the course they took by Saenz Global.
Hi. Welcome to another episode of Roof It Up. Super excited that you're here. I hope your day is going well. Now, let's talk. I'm going to introduce you to the man. First, he has an awesome name. Anyone that has this name usually is amazing. And I'm obviously a little biased because my brother as well. He's awesome. And his name is this. But we have Hendon on the show. Now, you most likely already know who he is. If you're in the roofing industry, you know who he is. And if you don't, I'm really excited for you to hear him and his story. So, Luke, welcome to the show. If you could just take a few seconds and let the people know who you are, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for having me on. And so the people, you need to know who I am. Obviously, if you don't know who I am, my name is Hendon. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I've got 3 kids, obviously, and a wife. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that. But if you don't follow me, now you know. So I own a company called Precision Claim Consultants. We specialize in public adjusting for insurance property loss claims. Obviously, if you're following this podcast, you know about public adjusters. So the good, the bad, and the ugly, and all in between, right?
Yes.
So we are trying to change that stigma as it comes to public adjusting and how you look at public adjusters and your experiences with public adjusters. So that's what this brand is all about. It's about helping, obviously, homeowners, property owners, and also contractors scale their business and optimize their efforts of what they're doing in the field by outsourcing the claims to us. So that's pretty much our model. That's what we do. And I think we're really good at it.
You guys are legitimately awesome at it. So very cool. Okay. So yeah, we have public adjuster on the show. It's awesome. Super excited. Okay. So Luke, did you just how did you get into public adjusting? What is the story? How did that happen?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's a good story. So I actually got into this business in 2007 as a roofing contractor. So started the hail damage, chasing the storms, and just doing all that around Atlanta. And I actually worked in Atlanta in 2008 is when I first started. So I started working under a company, doing sales, learning the business. Just kind of out grinding, putting flyers out in mailboxes late at night, and then getting calls in the morning. I was printing my own flyers and just putting them out, just doing any and everything I could to get business into the door, knocking doors. And anyway, just got my feet wet, started the business that way. Didn't know anything about it, literally knew nothing about the industry other than I had a little construction background, just because at one time when I was 17, I had done some roof repairs with a guy and he had taught me a little bit about it, but I really didn't absorb it because I wasn't paying attention, because I never thought I'd be into roofing, right?
Right.
They'd be into roofing when they're 17 years old. Definitely not me. I wanted to play professional golf. I mean, literally, I was on track to play professional golf. I played golf every single day. So,
wow.
So that's a little nugget that no one really knows about me, because I'm not into it anymore. But anyway, I play here and there. I'm still a pretty good avid golfer, and I still play well. But it was a career path at one time. But anyway, I started roofing at the age of 17. Literally looked at it like, man, I'm never going to do this. I will never do this. And the guy was telling me, I remember being on roofs with this guy, and he was like that, that local town guy that repaired roofs. And he lived off in the side of town where he was the type of guy that didn't pay taxes. He did it all cash. He was a word of mouth kind of business guy, which is right. He was doing a great job for himself. But he told me, he's like, the skills that I'm going to train you will be able to use for the rest of your life and always make money. He told me
wow.
That. And I was like, really? And I'm 17 years old. I'm just like, okay, whatever,
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything from anything, right, at that age. Well, come to find out, I literally land back into roofing, 2007, which was probably about 8 years later. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wow, this guy literally told me that. And now I'm back into this business. So I'm like, wow, it's just amazing how when you put things out to the universe and people tell you things, you manifest things, and literally it comes to you faster, right?
Yeah, it's like a prophecy. It's like he prophesied over you.
He did. And so now I've been in the business almost 16 years. I had my own roofing and restoration company from 2008 till 2015. I manually shut that business down. I got diagnosed with cancer in 2011. It set me back. So that was a hard situation to get through when I got diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma. Obviously with that type of diagnosis, it was hard to deal with. It was hard to process that in my mind. My son at the time, which he's 14 now, he was 3 years old. My son, Isaiah, I'm sitting there. I had everything you could possibly imagine. I had all the cars. I had the house. I had the business. I had the just everything. And literally, I looked at it all and I was like, man, none of this stuff even matters without health, right?
Yeah, it's the saying, health is wealth, is legitimately real, right? You can have all the rich, you kind of just said it, like, I had all the things, I had all the material, but like, you had stage 3 cancer. That is scary. Yeah.
Scary. So scary. They gave me a 30% chance to live at Emory for 5 years. So I was 27 at the time. I was freaking out. Literally, my business was crumbling apart at that time because I was so worried.
Yeah.
Come to find out, which I know that some of the people that listen to this can probably relate because they've probably gone through similar struggles with, if they're in the roofing business where they're trying to build out and scale their roofing company, right? So at that time, I had scaled to doing about $3 million a year. And after I got diagnosed with cancer, I found out that my office manager, which was like my right-hand person, I trusted her with everything. She stamped the checks. I mean, everything from that. She was embezzling money from me. I had no clue. Right? No clue. So I got hit with cancer diagnosis, gave me a 30% chance to live. Then I found out my manager, she quits with no notice on a Friday after I just got back into the field and started working the storm in Nashville that hit in 2011, which some people probably remember that storm when it came up through Nashville and Knoxville and all that area in 2011 up in Tennessee. Well, I was working that storm. I deployed to that storm with my team, went up there, just got over the cancer and all the lymph nodes they had cut out of me and just got over. And I was working that first storm after it hit. And literally I find out on a Friday, my office manager sends me an email quitting with no notice. I drive back home. Literally that night, I find out she had been embezzling money from me for 3 years.
Dead. Oh my gosh, this is like a movie. I feel like you just gave me roller coasters of emotions. I was like, no.
Terrible. Listen, and I say this because this is just like what I've experienced, and all I can tell is a story that I've lived, right? And just this is reality, right? So I literally went through that. On top of having a cancer diagnosis, on top of an embezzlement, on top of that, the girlfriend at the time got pregnant.
No.
So now my son Noah, okay, he's 10 years old, okay. He's here still. Obviously, I'm here still. I don't know. Listen, it was crazy during that time. So I went through a crazy stint where I literally lost everything, had to rebuild everything. After that period of cancer, I literally lost my mind. I literally went into psychosis because I was having a nervous breakdown because I was worrying so much. Like, I just went through that with the business. I just went through that with the finding out the pregnancy, just went through the embezzlement. And I was just like, oh my God.
It's like trauma after trauma within like days.
Crazy trauma.
Intense.
It felt like every day it felt like my head was about to explode. I don't know if you've ever had that much stress on you to where you just feel like, oh my God, I feel like I'm about to bust. Like I felt like that every day. I was like, I'm not going to be able to survive this. Like I felt the most intense pressure I've ever felt in my life.
Wow.
So anyway, I think my mind needed a break, so it just shut down. So 2012 was kind of like a blur for me. Like I literally don't even remember any of it.
Yeah.
I literally, my brain just shut down and I don't remember any of it. I literally just lost my mind and like went into a hole. And my team picked up the pieces and ran the company for me while I was out. Right.
Wow.
So I slowly transitioned back in, and not to make a long story short, I was in the roofing game for about 10 years, 12 years. And then I transitioned into doing sales for buddies that owned roofing companies around the Southeast. I ended up landing in Hurricane Michael. You remember 2018 Hurricane Michael?
Yes, totally remember.
2018 Hurricane Michael. So I was working Hurricane Michael. I went down there. I was there for 6 months. I sold $3.5 million in 6 months, okay?
Incredible.
In roofing. So, I had a pretty good chunk of change that I made from that storm. I came back and I'm like, you know what? I was feeling that same feeling that I felt after I got diagnosed with cancer. I don't know if you've ever felt this or your listeners have felt this, but have you ever felt like you were just burnt out? You're like, man, I'm freaking burnt out, dude. This is wearing me out.
100%.
This business will do that sometimes, right? Any business will do that. You can experience burnout with any business. And I was 100%. Experiencing that again, right after Hurricane Michael. I went down there for 6 months, hearing the same stories of all the losses of the people that have went through that hundreds of times every day. You're just like, oh my God, dude, this is just, it's so hard to take on over time. You just kind of look at it. You're like, dude, I can't keep taking this on. So anyway, I left that storm, came up here. I started my company now, Precision Claim Consultants. We specialize in literally helping, homeowners, property owners for commercial property, residentials, and contractors handle insurance claims and deal with the hard claims that, you know, they have a hard time dealing with, right? Like dealing with these insurance companies. They're not easy to deal with.
No.
We handle all of the hard stuff.
And not only that, it's like you help the team kind of go back to like selling roofs and making more money, because now they're not on the phone having to talk with insurance and doing all that stuff. So like the ROI is huge working with your team. And it's super, super powerful. But I just want to say my hat goes off to you, because that saying like everything is for us, not against us, is literally what you have built, right? So a lot of people would say, hey, I had stage 3 cancer. Like, thank God you are here. Like totally, like, God has a plan. That you then had embezzlement, then your girlfriend got pregnant, and then you're still like leading a team and you're having to like all the things that come with it. And a lot of people would have just become a victim. But I love your story that you took that and you're so much stronger, right? And now you have this, like you've built back up. So it's like, they can take everything away, but like you have the ability to build back up. But it's really, really cool to see that you were in a really dark period. And if you're listening to this and you're in a really dark period of your life, there's so much hope. Right? There's so much hope. If you've been diagnosed with something, if your family or someone, you just went through someone being embezzlement, which I can't imagine the feeling, like if you trust them so much, like backstabbing you felt, right? The whirlwind of emotions as well. But I love how your story, you are like an awesome business owner. You have an amazing company and you really are propelling the industry forward, but yet the journey, was not easy, right? And like you have everything to like want to quit, and yet you're here. So you're just a huge example to so many. And again, if you're listening to this and you are really going through a tough time, hey, you're not alone. And like you're hearing it from someone who is still in the industry. So Luke, thanks for sharing that. Like that was really powerful. We really appreciate that for sure.
Absolutely. Anytime. I'm always here to help. So
yeah, I love it. Okay. So Luke, tell me something about, like for you, obviously I know like you have been able to pick yourself up, right? What are some things that, resources that have really helped you? Like, I'm assuming, again, it was not just like a mindset change. It's like, like for us, it's coaching. We invest in coaching for our company, right? Because that's something we do. So what about you? Like, what are some resources that individuals may be going through some similar situation, or they're in a place that they're just, hey, like, what is a resource that you would offer to them?
Yeah. So, I mean, my first thing I would say is double down on yourself, because without you, there's nothing else. Okay. Without you, there's nothing. Okay. So start with you.
Drop the mic.
Right? If without you, there is nothing else. Okay. That's just reality.
Yes.
So you are your world. It starts with you, obviously. Okay. And then there it's everyone around you. So if you're not whole yourself, you're never going to be whole around anyone or help anyone fully. Right. So double down on your self-care, double down on yourself, whatever your self-care looks like, right? It might be going to a bookstore and reading a book. It might be going to get a coffee at Starbucks. It might be sitting in a park with your bare feet on the ground. I don't know what it looks like for you, but you know what? All I know is that you double down on your self-care so that you can feed yourself first, okay? And then you'll be able to feed other people. When your cup is filled fully, then you can fill other people's cup, right? That's the key.
100%. You can overflow into people, right? You're overflowing like all these great things because you're filling yourself up first. Because if you're filling everyone else up and you're empty, you're going to get bitter, right? You're going to get bitter. You're going to get really like, you're going to be unhappy. And if you're unhappy, everyone around you is unhappy. That's why at Saenz Global, our mission is to help our clients be really happy with life, because they don't have to do certain things they don't like, so that they can be better spouses, parents, and better coaches, etc. Right? It's about people. At the end of the day, it's all about people. Super powerful. Yeah, 100%. That's really good. Double down on yourself.
Double down on yourself. Yeah. Double down on yourself and double down on your self-care. Because if you're not feeding yourself and you're not taking care of yourself, then I'm telling you, you're going to feel empty. You're going to feel scattered. You're going to feel like you're in pieces. You're going to feel like you just don't have time for yourself. And that's what your body needs, is you to spend time with yourself. Okay. Literally just spend that time with yourself. and do whatever it takes that makes you feel like, hey, I'm doing something for me. Whether it's like taking yourself to dinner or taking yourself to a movie, whatever it looks like, that's what you have to do for yourself, because you got to take care of yourself first.
Fire. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, okay, we can be done. Drop the mic. You're just brought fire. That's awesome. Very, very powerful. Okay. So what is like a common myth in your profession that you would love to debunk?
Common myth in my profession. So public adjusting gets a bad rap sometimes. Sometimes it gets a good rap. Sometimes it gets a bad rap. But what I typically hear in the industry is from the same contractors that we deal with, just what they say is this. They say it takes way too long when it goes to a PA, or they're not working the files. They're sitting on the files, right? I've heard that from literally 50 contractors that I've talked to in Atlanta.
Right.
And we work with contractors throughout the Southeast. We're licensed in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. We're opening an office in Florida. So,
nice.
I mean, we work with contractors all in the Southeast. We have a national company we work with, that we're affiliated with, that's business. And I hear the same thing from all those guys, is that it just takes too long when a PA gets it. We've literally tried to shift that model that mindset, so they don't think that anymore, by giving them white glove treatment. And that's our goal in this business, is to give that white glove treatment so that they don't ever have to look. That update is in the system already before they even ask for it. Okay. That's the goal.
Love it. Okay. So let's talk about that really quickly. So what you're saying is, hey, if I'm not mistaken, you let me know if I'm right. Your team is actually inside of the contractor CRMs giving updates. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, guys, that is powerful, because what's happening is, that the CRM is an amazing tool and it is a machine, right? But the machine can only function with the right data, right? And the data obviously needs to be input in there. And that is what your team does. So instead of you as a roofing contractor and your team going like, hey, what's the ET on this? And like having to email or do that, literally that information is being put in live into your CRM. So at any moment, you, your team, or anyone can look and see, okay, this is what's happening. This is the process. So again, it is what you're doing is like you're saving your team a ton of time, right? Time is money, right? Because your team going out there making sales, that's money that they're losing, not like knowing the ET or all that stuff. So that's amazing. I love that. So the fact that you guys do that, that's fire. So powerful. Okay. Love it. Okay. Good. I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, no. And I was going to say, what's helped us with that is obviously, Saenz Global. We have hired Saenz Global to help us with some of our administrative tasks. And they have been an absolute asset to our brand. That's just the reality. Okay. Like I love working with you guys. You guys do an excellent job. So anybody that's not using you definitely need to check out Saenz Global.
Thank you so much, Luke. We really appreciate the shout out for sure. 100%. But truly, so I loved how you already said, but you work with some national locations, but you're like opening an office here in Florida. And we get this, so that's good to know. If you're in Florida and you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I really want to start working with PA, Luke and his team are that team. And I love how you really are like, we're that white glove service. And you know how all of us have experienced that, hey, if you can't always get the VIP, like always pay the little extra for that. Cause like, it's going to bring you so much more enjoyment, peace, all that stuff. And so definitely Precision, you guys rock and roll. And like we see it because we get to work alongside you. So very cool. Okay. So Luke, let us say, if they're interested, man, Luke, I cannot keep talking to you so much more because I'm like, your story's so dope. It's awesome. Amazing. But what is one thing before I close off with their last question, but like, what are the most important lessons that you've learned in your life as being the CEO of your business, and of your businesses that you've had? So like, what is one thing that's like a nugget of wisdom that you would give to the audience as they're listening in?
So I would say the number one nugget of wisdom that I've received, obviously that's helped me so much, is some of your best clients are the ones that you never get. Also, the one, you know what the golden rule is?
Treat everyone how you want to be treated.
One with the gold rules.
Okay. Expand more on the first one. Could you expand a little bit more on that?
Absolutely. So some of your best clients are the ones that you never get. As you know, if you've had some clients that are sometimes a little more tricky to deal with, I'm not going to name any names, but like, the clients have like the big houses that are like they're perfectly manicured, like everything. There's not a speck on anything.
Yeah.
If you're a roofing contractor and you go to that house and you build that roof, if you drop a shingle on one window seal or leave dust somewhere, a lot of times those people are going to be hounding you.
Right.
Everyone's had those types of clients in this roofing business. So reason I say that is some of the best clients are the ones that you never get, because some clients you don't want to attract and some clients you do want to attract, right? We want to be able to get to a point in business to where we're so busy that sometimes we can turn down business and be okay with that.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, it's a powerful place to be. Like we get to vet who we want to work with, right? And I think people get into business sometimes where it's like, it's about the volume. And then really when you look at the bottom line of how much effort, time, and things, you're really making no profit. But when you can really build a business where you can actually work with people you love to work with, right? And if at any moment it's not a good, like you're like, hey, this is not like we got to part ways. It's a powerful place to be, because you can build a business you love and you're not constantly dependent on, I don't know. It's actually doable and you can actually love what you do.
Absolutely. 100%.
So powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was going to add to that. I think it may have slipped my mind, but it'll probably come back. So but like, as far as clients are concerned, some of the clients that you get, obviously, in business, I mean, last year we did, as you've done a lot of our processing of our claims. I think we did over 2,600 claims last year. I mean, and just like you just said, I mean, volume isn't always like the best thing, because, you want quality in this business over quantity. And that's just the reality. Yeah. Not every claim you want to take on. Why would you want to take on every claim? You know what I mean? Some claims don't have good policies in place.
Right.
And we know that. Like, we have to go through and review files now, because sometimes we'll get referrals and the roof will have marginal damage and it'll have an ACV policy, and we're sitting there like, there's nothing I can do on this. And then, the homeowner's looking at us like, we have the magic touch, which typically we do, but sometimes there's no magic you can put on it, with the certain claims that are in place. So I say that because, we took on so much business last year, and we did over 30 million in gross revenue last year.
Amazing.
So now we're just kind of like, we're kind of revising our how we look at claims moving forward. We want to take on claims that are kind of at a certain threshold, that have certain policies in place, and they got to have the damage on the roof or on the property to even substantiate it with the insurance. So we've had to shift our mindset on that. And that's why I said quantity over quality. Quality trumps that at all times.
100%. And I love how you're like refining, right? Like you've been in business for, in total everything, I think over 16 years, you said, but it's like the constant refining of what we're doing, right? And I think it's a reflection of great business owners, is you're always refining, you're refining the process, you're making pivots when necessary. You are curiosity, right? Taking curiosity of like, okay, let's do that. Cause that is how we find the formulas, right? We got to be curious. And so I love how you're like, hey, we killed it last year. When you look at revenue, we realized, you don't want everyone. So we're refining some things to even bring more value to our clients and also a healthier value to our team, right? Because when your team is happy because they're now doing actual things that can get completed, it's a whole different dynamic within your company. So very cool. Nice.
Absolutely. You nailed it.
Fire.
Yep.
Fire. Okay, Luke. So let's say they are like, right now you're a roofing contractor and you're like, I need a Luke. Like 100% you need Luke and his team. Seriously. How do they reach you? How can they get a hold of you? Share. And what we're going to do is, if you're driving, you're like, dang, I can't take note of this. Don't worry. If you go to Spotify or YouTube, as your whichever platform you're using, scroll down and all of the handles directly to Luke's information will be on there. So you can just do a click and call or click an email, etc. So Luke, let us know, how can we get a hold of you?
Yeah. So on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's all going to be Precision Claims. Claims is plural. So Precision Claims, that's the handle for IG, Twitter, Facebook, all those, even on TikTok, I believe. So,
awesome.
And then if you find me on a personal level, it's my name, Luke Hendon, and then the number 33 on Instagram. It's pretty much either Luke Hendon or Luke Hendon 33 on any of those platforms. So you can find me on. So yeah. And then
love it.
Website's precisionclaimadjusters.com.
Amazing. Luke, I'm going to tell you this. I 100% believe that we will see you in a lot more podcasts, a lot more platforms. You have a really powerful story, and more people need to hear about you. You're impacting lives. So thank you so much for being on here. Guys, seriously, if you're looking for a PA, you need to connect with Luke and his team. And if you're just like, I have a PA, it doesn't matter. Still go check out Luke. It's awesome. So yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being on the show. And Luke, thanks so much for being on. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.